Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. We are from Group 15. We will present about our project paper for international investment. Our project paper title is the impact of infrastructure on foreign direct investment in Malaysia from 1990 to 2019. My name is Dewan Sabinti Kamarudin, metric number 259.33. So let's start the introduction and background study. Foreign direct investment play an important part of the economic system of the world, and Malaysia is highly to invest abroad and actively promote the entry into the market of foreign players. And FDI is one of the key measures in adjusting the economic performance of a country in the past decade. And according to Fraud 1993, FDI was the main prompt for the international transfer of capital between developing country and developed country. The FDI flow in development and developing economy that have made FDI a major driver of economic development has increased substantively. And according to Moshidi and Abimullah 1991, that FDI should have an impact on economic growth in the country. As we know, FDI is one of the important contributors to the development and transformation of the economy in the country. FDI will impact on the Malaysian economy is to create a new industry in the various sector involved, increase capacity production, create employment opportunity to the people, increase domestic and international trade, and enhance technological capability in the country. Malaysia is one of the country in South Asia that attract foreign direct investment. Thus, the Malaysian government has introduced various policy to attract new foreign direct investment to invest in our country. Moreover, the Malaysian government ensure that foreign direct investment is important to Malaysian investor in order to ensure healthy competition. And the study focus on the impact of infrastructure on Malaysia foreign direct investment between 1990 to 2019. So we continue with the relationship between exchange rate and FDI in Malaysia. Based on this graph, we can see that in year 1998, increasing of exchange rate from 2.81% to 3.92% made it to the FDI decrease from 5.14% to 2%. And from another view, to year 2010, exchange rate has decreased from 3.52% to 3.22%, but at the same time, FDI also increased 0.6% to 4.27%. Therefore, we can say that exchange rate had a negative relationship to FDI. This graph shows us about the relationship between economic growth and FDI in Malaysia. So we can see in year 1992, decreasing of economic growth from 9.55% to 8.89% made it to FDI increase from 8.14% to 8.76% compared to year 1991. Meanwhile, we can see in year 2008, which happened a global financial crisis, the economic growth decreased from 6.3% to 4.83%, and FDI decreased from 3.69% to 3.28% compared to year 2007. This graph show about relationship between internet penetration and FDI in Malaysia. So we can view Malaysia average value during the time period was 38.23% with a low of 0% in 1990 and high of 84.21% in 2019. The most recent figure in 2019 is 84.21%, and the relationship between FDI and internet penetration was shown in 2017 to 2019 as internet penetration increased steadily from 80.14% to 84.2%, while FDI decreased from 2.94% to 2.1%. And we can see that it is a negative relationship between internet penetration and FDI in Malaysia. So next, we move to problem statement. In this study, we want to see if the expansion of FDI in Malaysia could better influence the development of infrastructure in Malaysia. In fact, FDI is an international capital inflow that allow parent company, firm, or multinational over foreign branch to control company, and FDI is an international capital inflow. So by 2005, FDI global cash flow rose to 16 billion. With company in developing country receive more than half that amount. So exchange rate behavior is one of the influence of FDI activity, and exchange rate is significant in size and volatility as it is defined as the local currency price of a foreign currency. Next, according to Ilhan, Chi and Romer, they explain that FDI is a key to supporting the provision of temporary capital resources, accumulative capital, and efficient technological innovative measures in order to promote long-term economic growth. In the process of economic development, technological change play a very important role. Various channels involving idea combination and the use of the technological can bring technological advancement from within and outside the country. In Malaysia, the government has identified a high economic area. The current broadband service will be exchanged by more than 10 Mbps to provide high-speed broadband facility in a certain area. And internet penetration can increase the country competitiveness and attract FDI into our country. The increasing use of phone and internet in Malaysia is growing time to time. According to Yol and Tang 2009, explained that an important in infrastructure one-off percentage will lead to an increase in FDI of around 2.6% a year, and therefore a researcher would like to study if the internet penetration infrastructure affect FDI in Malaysia. Next, from the problem statement, we come out with the main research question on this project paper, which is first, how GDP growth affect foreign direct investment in Malaysia. Second, how the exchange rate impact on foreign direct investment in Malaysia. And third, what is the impact on infrastructure after foreign direct investment involved in Malaysia?
My name is Janelle Chankayan, matrix number 262865. Now we move on to objective. We have three specific objectives in our research. For the first one is to analyze economic growth that impacts foreign direct investment in Malaysia. For the second one is to analyze the impact of exchange rate in FDI in Malaysia. For the third one is to identify the impact of infrastructure after foreign direct investment involvement in Malaysia. Next, we move on to analysis and discussion. For the first part of analysis, we will look into descriptive analysis. First, we can see on the analysis of dependent and independent variable. In this table, we can see that the internet penetration had the highest of maximum value within these 30 years, which are 84.213% compared to other variables. Besides, we compare the minimum value within these variables. Our economic growth in Malaysia is the only one which had reached a negative value of economic growth within these 30 years, which is negative 7.36%. From the table also, we can see that the mean and median value for each of the independent variables is relatively near value to each other, which is not much different. Next, we move on to correlation analysis. We can see that in the correlation analysis, FDI have a moderate negative correlation with exchange rate and internet penetration with negative 0.6578 and negative 0.5819 respectively. Besides, FDI had a moderate positive correlation with economic growth in Malaysia with 0.6570. Besides, we analyzed the data by using regression. First, we look into R-square. R-square in our research is 0.6081. It indicates that 60.81% of the variation of dependent variable is explained by the variation of independent variables. In fact, 50% to 70% is moderately good model. Hence, our model is considering a moderately good model with R-square equals to 0.6081. Second, we take a look on p-value of f. In our test, our p-value of f is 0.0000. Means that the model is significant, which indicates at least one independent variable is significantly affecting our dependent variable, which is FDI. Third, we will look into coefficient. For the first one is the coefficient of economic growth implies that increase 1% in economic growth will increase the FDI by 0.2375%. Besides, the coefficient is negatively in exchange rate and internet penetration, indicates that increase 1% in exchange rate and internet penetration will decrease the FDI by 0.6857% and 0.01981% respectively. Fourth, we will look into p-value of test statistic in this regression. For the first one is economic growth. It is significantly affecting FDI as the p-value of statistic is 0.006, which is less than 0.05 at 5% significant level, and it has positive relationship with FDI. While internet penetration is significantly affecting FDI at 10% of significant level as its p-value of test statistic is less than 0.1, and it has negative relationship with FDI. Although exchange rate is having negative relationship with FDI, however, exchange rate does not significantly affect FDI as its p-value does not less than either 0.05 or 0.1. That's all from my part. I will pass to my friend to continue on data analysis with goodness of fit and diagnostic checking. Thank you.
Good day to Professor Dr. Salahuddin and everyone. My name is HKV, metric number 263221. So now I will continue with the presentation. So we use normality to test the goodness of fit. As we can see, the result of skewness and kurtosis test shows the number of observation is 30 and the probability of skewness is 0.3125, which is in between negative 0.5 and positive 0.5. So therefore, it implies that the distribution is approximately symmetric. For the probability of kurtosis indicates 0.8308, means that the kurtosis is also asymptotically distributed, which are the p-value of kurtosis is above 0.05. On the other hand, the p-value of chi-square is 0.5665, which is greater than 0.05, implying its significance at the 5% level. Consequently, null hypothesis of the data is normally distributed and cannot be rejected in the research. Indicates that the residuals in this data set satisfies the normality assumption. We also have the histogram to prove that this is a normal distribution. So let's continue with the next slide. So let us continue with the diagnosis checking. First with time series autocorrelation. From this figure, we can see that the value of statistic Durbin-Watson equals to 1.2811. It lies between DL and DU. It indicates that positive autocorrelation exists among the residuals. Since the result is violated with the assumptions of independence residuals, indicates that the existence of autocorrelation might cause problem in the analysis. So we solve the autocorrelation by using Price-Winston. The transform Durbin-Watson is at 1.6932, where it lies between the non-rejection region of DU and 4 minus DU, which is in the no autocorrelation area, and is also close to 2. The autocorrelation is solved and the null hypothesis of no autocorrelation is now not rejected. So now we continue with the next slide. Then we go on with heteroscedasticity. This is a long word. From the result of Bruch-Pagan test shows that the p-value is 0.6958, which is bigger than 0.05. Means that the null hypothesis is not rejected at 5% significance level. Also means that there is no heteroscedasticity problem. The residuals are said to be homoscedasticity and the assumption of constant variance among residuals is satisfied. Lastly, with multicollinearity test with variance inflation factors, VIF. So, multicollinearity test can help us to determine whether there is a correlation between our independence variables. So, the result of the test shows that there are low correlation and no multicollinearity between the independence variables. Since the VIF value are less than 10, which are the exchange rate as 2.35, internet penetration 1.78, Economic growth is 1.47. For its mean value of VIF also lies below 5, which are 1.87. So therefore, we find that there is low correlation between our independence variables. Besides, multicollinearity would not affect our independence variable, and we can trust the coefficient and the p-value. So as for our conclusion, based on the result we obtained from this data, we can summarize all these three variables are significant at 5% level. In our test, our p-value of f is 0.0000, means that the model is significant, which indicates at least one variable is significantly affecting our dependent variables, FDI. From the correlation analysis, we found out that the FDI is negatively correlated with exchange rate and internet penetration, but positively correlated with economic growth. The variables are normal distributed as the probability of skewness is 0.3125, and the chi-square is greater than the probability of kurtosis in the skewness and kurtosis test. Although we found that there is a positive autocorrelation in the test, but we solved the problem by using Price-Winston. The autocorrelation is solved and the null hypothesis of no autocorrelation is now not rejected. There is no multicollinearity between the independence variables as the VIF value is lower than 10. Lastly, for our suggestion, first, the government should develop the best infrastructure for attracting direct foreign investment, because this would also open more employment opportunities to the local population. In developing countries, sudden fluctuation in exchange rate will create investors' confidence and also encourage them to invest. It is understood that when the countries have development potential, FDI will increase as the countries always have policies to encourage foreign investment, to promote domestic economic development, increase import and export rates, and also expand the market. Secondly, ICT technology are important factors for economic growth and national development. Rural development must nevertheless be developed and considered in formulating internet penetrating strategies and policies. It is therefore important for the government to ensure high-quality communication service at a competitive price are provided. Thirdly, the government and private sectors should invest in research and infrastructure development to ensure that both developments are balanced and should be followed by the development of knowledge to ensure that rural areas with lack of ICT access are not left behind with the modernization of the country's development. Lastly, by improving skills in ICT. Appropriate programs should be developed to enhance ICT trainings and skills, which can increase in terms of productivity growth. Therefore, the country has a highly skilled workforce that attracts foreign direct investors and influence the infrastructure in the area. So that's all from us. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great day.